So, good morning, and we're going to do the type 2 and take a quick journey through the inner critic pattern. So, hang on to your horses and let's see what we discover. All right. Getting to know your inner critic, the type 2. So, we call the type 2 the caring interpersonal type. That's certainly an accurate depiction. I often think of them as intuitive healers. They often, when whatever work they're doing, contribute to the healing of people's hearts. Stevie Wonder here, who's a beautiful musician who sings from the heart, and Byron Katie, who also, is just this beautiful force of healing in the world. Calls all of her clients sweetie, which is very much in the spirit of the type 2. So, a little cartoon. Start upper left. It's easy to always want to show up for everyone else. It's like a gravitational pull for the type 2, but it's really important to show up for yourself as well. So that's the big growth edge for the type 2. So, talk about the essential qualities of the type 2. It's like the inherited gifts that the 2 arrives with. And we call them love and sweetness. And, a healthy type 2, when they're present in the heart center, head center, gut center, capacity to feel quality of unconditional love emanating from them, through them, to them, is often the air they breathe. They're just natural conduits for loving kindness and care. And there's a ability to really sense into and appreciate and really feel the sweetness at the core of human beings, and to have a kind of merciful, forgiving spirit regarding their aberrations from this innate sweetness. So we say that the 2 arrives with the potentiality of tapping into this deep essential quality of love and sweetness. And of course, there's different schools on essence evolution. And the Gurdjieff work conversation is that you don't arrive with your essence full blown. It's not just a matter of discarding your personality patterns and shields, but that actually the inner work you do to become conscious builds and nourishes the potentiality of this essential quality of love and sweetness. So the jury's out. I don't know the final ultimate answer, but what is evident to me is that all of us grow up in a world where we have to develop a personality that can adjust to and navigate the world. And so we navigate home life with mom and dad, and then we go to the DMZ, a public school, and learn to navigate, protect, take care of oneself, and then into adulthood. So, some people's personality shields are more wounded and thicker, so that their inner work to retrieve essence might take a little longer. I think there are some kids who had a less painful childhood and are more easily connected with essence. Nonetheless, when this personality shell covers the essential being of the child, little boy, little girl, a basic desire arises to feel love and to be a source of love in the world, which is an awesome wish. The challenge, though, for the type 2 is that the story is that when they lose contact with essence, there's this feeling of profound rejection, as if I've been discarded, cut off from the rose bush of love and sort of thrown into the street. And so this basic desire turns into a really strong drive to not be rejected and to be, in a sense, really needed by people. If I love you to death, you're not going to throw me out again, so that I feel this sense of abandonment, which is really an Achilles heel for the type 2. So the self-image, what my inner critic expects is I must be helpful. I must be loving, caring, selfless, concerned, and warm-hearted. And when I'm healthy as a 2, and I've done my heart healing, these are natural gifts. When I'm less healthy, they become demands from my inner critic to show up a certain way, whether I'm feeling like it or not. So what I can't allow is anything that looks like selfishness or self-care, caring for my own needs. And, little type 2s often take on the role of being the mother force in the family, seeing and attending to the wounded heart wounds of mom, dad, and the kids, right? And so as a little one, I learned to sort of erase my contact with my own needs and to really become hyper attuned to your needs. That becomes my survival. And again, depends on the level of health in the family. Healthier families, 2s get attended to. They're still natural helpers and don't like to see people suffer because they are also attuned to what it feels like to be rejected. So they don't want that to visit anybody's heart or soul. So we look at this column, looking at the levels of health. And of course, up in the top, we have love and connection, communion. I think the other thing that really resonates in my experience with 2s is just this love of communing and connecting with people, having healthy connections, passing the love along, receiving it. And when I'm healthy at levels 1, 2, and 3, I'm in contact with the best of the 2. This natural, generous, loving kindness. And I'm also aware that I don't have to love other people back to their redemption. I develop a heart attuned to knowing when my help's needed and when I just need to stand by and just be present with a loving presence and learn, or have that sense that rescuing people may in fact disempower them. And that's the last thing I want to do. So when I'm more present at levels 1, 2, and 3, I'm attuned. I love to give. I give from a place of a clean heart. I'm not concerned about whether you think I'm the loving one because I'm feeling the loving force move through me. So I'm nurtured. So as I drop down the levels, which means my heart has had to become protected due to circumstances of my life, and I start to lose contact with my natural sense of unconditional loving openness in my heart, my inner critic starts to speak and gets louder. You're lovable if you are loving and connected to others. So I start to, feel that pressure from my beloved inner critic at level 4, such that I'm not sure if you care for me. I'm not sure if you rejected me. So I'm going to start to become more people pleasing, more hyper attuned to you, and lose that sensitivity of whether I'm actually overstepping my welcome. So I can also get ingratiating, which means, that I start to maybe overcompliment or be overly positive to keep you liking and wanting me. And then as this, sense of desperation in my heart increases, and I start to feel even more disconnected from love at level 5, there's a tendency for type 2s to start to find people to rescue who are sort of objects of their need to feel connected. So there's a combination of both loving these people, but then getting attached to them psychically and starting to develop a kind of a sense of, I kind of own you. You're one of my possessions. And this is all level 5 on down, unconscious. I'm not consciously trying to make you have a bad day or me have a bad day. And then I can also start to get intrusive, meaning that I can start to as one type 2 says, I can foresee your needs. So I just start moving in without permission because I feel it in my body. You need me. You may be blind and not realize it, but I'm coming in, baby, and I'm going to give you that love potion that makes you feel good. So, there's a combination of both empathy and that drive to feel connected and feel like I'm loved and to have a place with you. So at level 5, we say at the level of manipulation, I really start working to make sure I've got this connection and I've lost contact with my own grief and suffering. It's getting translated into protective measures. So at level 6, when things have gone from bad to worse, and I'm, really starting to feel some desperation here. We call level 6 the level of aggression. And here it's like, not only do I foresee what you need, but I'm giving it to you. Yeah, and, you're going to take it or there's going to be trouble here. So I can, in compensation for feeling unloved, I have kind of a reversal where I sort of really unconsciously block my sense of rejection and despair and develop this kind of inflated personality pattern of being self-important. Like I'm really the one who brings the love, and the rest of you poor people just are so out of tune with giving, but not me, man. I got it down and I'm kind of a star here. So if you would just wise up and notice, we'd all have a better life. So I started to get aggressive with my patterns. And again, the inner critic at level 4, 5, and 6 gets louder and more insistent, more, reminding me I'm not loved, I'm not cared for. I better go out and get it. I got to make it happen. I'm the one who's supposed to do it. If someone's in need, I am the one who must do it. Otherwise, I'm selfish. And if I think about getting counseling for myself, the inner critic says, no, that is selfish. So we hit level 7, 8, and 9, where, I go off the rails. And we've got the word here, manipulative. And I want to be really careful about how this gets used because type 2s really get a bad rap. Like, that they're loving because they're trying to manipulate you to get them to love them. Well, they're really loving because they want connection. And manipulation, all the types have their own way of dealing with their despair. It's all unconscious. It's all in service of trying to reduce their freak out. And so you could say, all the types get manipulative and self-deceptive, but this one sort of gets pinned, I think, on the 2 and the 3 in a kind of overzealous way. And again, it's always to notice at level 7, 8, 9, I'm unconscious. I can't see what I'm doing. I'm not deciding to be manipulative. And I'm just desperate. So I start to take on desperate acts. Level 8, I might get even crazier, more entitled, coercive. There's a movie that sort of overemphasizes this crazed spot, which is a Fatal Attraction. Glenn Close plays the agonized type 2 who's been rejected. And, there's other folks down at this level who start to, in a sense, get really psychologically destructive in their intention to bring love to somebody. So level 9, I'm checked out. And so the point being is we go from healthy down to unhealthy. And part of the work is the more that we do the inner healing work, the more our center of gravity goes to higher levels and we have more access to the loving kindness of the type 2. So inner critic demands, you need to focus your attention on others, you need to help others, you're selfish if you pay attention to your own needs and others are suffering. Help them now. It's your duty, right? And so this is different than the sort of natural healing heart that notices someone's suffering and reaches out to give because they've got tons to give, but they're also attuned to whether I'm giving too much or I'm intruding or that this person might be actually better off with me being a silent observer, just being in a state of presence. But the inner critic says, get into action. Core belief of the inner critic, you need to take care of your relationships, otherwise you won't be loved or wanted. If you're not loving, you'll lose the love of everyone you care about. So this is like a big deal. You don't show up and you don't sort of dazzle them with your kindness, they're going to cut you off. Just like the same sort of reiteration of what you felt as a little one, little boy and little girl cut off from love. And then, of course, your needs are secondary. Others need your help. Anybody could see that. So what do I do when it demands of the inner critic? Well, type 2s have nothing else, man. They try harder to do things for people. You know, you need to clean up after the party, get a type 2 on it. They'll do the whole thing single-handedly. So again, for the type 2, it's noticing when I start to feel that sense of I'm not loved, do I start hyping up my effort to try to kind of erase that and get some acknowledgement from people that I'm loved? And do I notice, you know, the way the inner critic talks to me regarding, you know, my selfishness, how I need to help more, how I shouldn't ask for help? So call the passion of the 2 pride, or the unloved, cut off heart. And pride has a couple different explanations. One is the inability to recognize the suffering of my own heart and asking for help. The other is a kind of inflated ego story that I don't need love. You need love, but not me. And I'm the love master. I'm going to love you up. And in the process, I'm not noticing that I'm trying to cover my own woundedness and hurt by over-loving you. So we call the wake-up call leaning in, people-pleasing. And this is one to really notice is when you suddenly find your body moving towards the object, the man or woman, child who's suffering, and not noticing whether you've made a conscious decision that this would be a good thing. You know, a lot of twos would say, my body's like a magnet towards people suffering, and I'm out of the chair to help them before I even have a sense of perspective or objective calm around, is this the right action? So, path of transformation from the broken heart of the 2, pride, unloved, cut off heart, to the open heart of the 2, the humble heart. And I have realizations. Maybe I could do something good for myself and nurture my own growth and development. Maybe happiness doesn't depend on serving others. Maybe this person is actually already showing me love in their own way, because that's one of the sensitivities of the 2 is in my desperation to feel love, I may not be conscious enough to notice that people are loving me, that they care about me. And I may be so constricted in my heart that I'm looking for particular signs that tell me I'm not rejected, while waves of love could be pouring forward towards me. So, exercise you could try. Explore your experience of asking for help. What does your inner critic say when you ask for help or consider asking for help? Does it beat you up? Does it tell you that you're being selfish? And then a question: who do you need to ask for help from? So I'm going to stop there and see what we have.